is going on, everybody? And welcome back to episode 15 of the Beginner to Advanced Roblox scripting tutorials. So, in this episode, what we're going to be doing is, as you can see, I've already got something set up here and here. This is what we're going to be creating. So, we're going to be creating an owner-only door that allows us to go through, but nobody else. So, if I go over to one of the scripts and change the name to that. I'll only change it on one of them, although I will have to change it on each one. Then if I actually go over to this now, it will kill me. So, onto the scripting. Well, before we cover the scripting actually, the first thing that you will want to do is you will want to create a model with a certain amount of parts and an easy way to tell which part is the lasers or the blocker for the people who touch it who aren't the owner. So you then want to group all these together really. So you'll want to pick out all of the laser beams like so and then group them together. Now I'm going to rename this lasers for easier access. Now the next thing that we want to do on this is we want to select all the parts and make sure that they are anchored so it doesn't have physics and go all over the place, because the least thing we want is these falling apart. The next thing we want to do now is go over to the owner only door and we will add a bool value and we will call this isActive. And then we will add a script. Now we'll call this owner only door. Right. And now the other thing we want to do is we want to make another script inside lasers. So we will call this script damage player. Now this is similar to what we did in another video in the series, so people will be fairly familiar with this. So the first thing that you're going to want to do inside of the script is delete the hello world, because we don't need that, and we're going to be wanting to define a few variables. So the first variable that we want to know is the laser part that we're on. So this laser, and then equals this equals script dot parent. So that's here. The next thing we want to define is a variable to store our player name. For mine is Samail0666. So we'll do local player name equals string Samail. This will be your character's name. And then finally, what we want to do is we'll want to do define a variable for the actual isActive. So isActive equals script dot parent dot parent dot parent dot isActive. There we go. Put semicolons on the end of each line for me. And then we will be moving over to the function. So the function will be if the laser, any of these lasers has been hit, so we'll do this laser dot touched connect a function and then hit, and then we will create a function with the hit parameter. So if this hit parameter is find first child humanoid, then we will, so if it is the humanoid that we've found, then we will first find hit.parent.name, and then we will do this in an if statement. So if the parent.name is equal to our player name that we have defined, then run this script else, if it's not the player name that we've defined, run another operation. So what we want to do if the player hits it normally is we want to change it over to a different material so we can see that we've hit it, but it's allowing you through. This is just for a series of like being able to visualize what's happening in the code. But inside of if it's not the player name, then we will want to do hit dot humanoid dot health equals 0. So what this should do is if it isn't the player that we're looking for, then it should kill us. Now this is only applied to one of the lasers. So um, sorry, it was hit.parent.humanoid.health. So if we play this now, when we go over to here, we still don't die. Oh, of course we don't die because we're looking for the right person. So if we go over here and say that we're not looking for this person, as well as go over to all of the parts that are the laser, so these, and turn off can collide because we don't want to be able to collide with them, because if it's a door, then we want to be able to go through them. And now we press play. I'm just being dumb. And then we go through this, and it still doesn't kill me. So even though I changed parent here, I'm completely oblivious, and I didn't put dot parent here, and this should fix the entire issue. Otherwise, I'm going to cry. There we go. I've never been so pleased about dying. Right. So now that we've got the script that if we touch the laser on the, well, one of the lasers, then we die. We now want to start figuring out whether or not the person is the owner, if that makes sense. So if it is the owner, so this will figure out actually, sorry, if it is the owner, the next thing we want to do is if it is the owner and we have touched it, we want to activate the system. So I will be getting into that in just a moment. So what we want to do now is we want to, if the player value is not ready, so if the player value is not what we want, which this is if we want it, and what, so if it's not what we want, it wanted to stay on the color that it was set, and if the player is the person we're looking for, we want to set the value to false to turn off the damage dealing effects, right? So let's go over here and do is active dot value equals false, because we don't want the damage dealing effects to be active if the player is the one we are looking for. Whereas if it isn't the player that we're looking for, we want is active dot value equals true. So this is just going to be controlling this owner only door script. So that's the next thing that we want to create. So we're done with this script, and this script will just set the active state to on. It won't be able to change it off because we'll do that in the owner only door script. So make our way over to the owner only door script now, and the first thing that we want to create is again a few references. So we want to get an array of the lasers within each of this. Before we do this, actually, let's copy and paste into all these. It is a little bit bad practice to do this, but we'll just do this for now until I can show you how to place them all into one at once. So what we want to do is we want to get all of the lasers from the lasers place. So we do that by going into, let's call this lasers, and then do equals script dot parent, which is the owner only door dot lasers, and then get children, right? So what this is now an array of all of the children. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll get all of them there. And then the next thing that we want to define is active, which is like previous to the damage one. However, this one's going to be for our true. Not for our true actually. This is for setting the colors of the lasers. Whether if it's on, then it'll be a green color. If it's off, then it'll be a red color. So we will do that by doing local is active equals script dot parent dot is active, right? So now we're going to be defining a function. Now this function is going to be a little different. I think I've covered for loops in the tutorials. So we're going to be looping through all of these lasers inside of the lasers model. So to do this, we will first have to check if the value is active. So let's go over to here. So first let's create a function actually, local function set the lasers. We'll call it set the lasers, and then we will do that. Just press enter so it will actually auto do it. And then we will do if is active. So if is active dot value. Oh, that's not dot value. If is active dot value, then do this, else do this. So in order to loop through these values, we need to create a integer for the index, which will be able to say I equals 1. So when I equals 1, lasers will also equal the first laser. It's a little different in other code. It will normally start at 0. But what we will do is with a hashtag, so for I equals 1, this is the array that we're doing. So this is the array here. It's noted via a hashtag, and then do. So for I is 1, and then it gets added until it's eventually 4, or whatever the maximum amount of children, well, the number of children is inside of this array. So in order to then affect each of this array, we will actually have to use the I variable that we've stored. So let's start doing this. So first we need to do for I 1. Then we want to do hashtag. I think it was hashtag. Yeah, hashtag lasers do. So, like I said, this is just going to go through all of the lasers inside of the lasers model. Now, to call this now, what we will do is we'll do lasers. This is finding inside of the array, and then we're going to do .I, and now we can get most things from here. So we can get material, although it doesn't come up because it's not recognized. This is just due to we're putting it through a few things and it doesn't have always autofill. So let's do material equals enum dot material dot neon, and then we also want to change the color of the brick color to really red, because this is while it is active, so while the player is not not in the proximity of it. So we do the same thing by doing, well, we can just, can we press Control D? No, we can't press Control D. So just copy and paste this line. And then the things that we want to change are the here and here. So brick color. Make sure you spell it the American way, as if you're British and we have the U here, make sure you don't do that because that was while I was trying to plan this lesson, that was the bane of my life. So then we want to do brick color dot new equals neon green. No, not neon green. We want to just do really red because that's the starting base color. And then we want to now copy this array because this is done and paste this into here. So we will change this we'll keep that at neon as well. And then we'll do neon green. Neon green there. And then the next thing we need to do is because it is going to be looped through, not looped through, because it is going to be reset eventually, we will put a wait time of 1 second. Now, this is just so, say you have, oh, I've got cap locks on. Say you have a person behind that player, then they will only have a second to try and get through it before the player actually destroys before it gets set back into killing everything in its path. So we will then do is active dot value equals true. So that's it for the owner only door script. However, if anybody knows what's wrong with this right now, then you've been watching all of the videos up until now, because we have to call this function, otherwise it will never actually be called. And the way we do that is while true do, and then in here make sure we have a wait timer for the actual while loop, otherwise you'd break your save. Make sure you do have a wait because it will cause massive issues. You might actually lose some work. And then while true do, we will want to set the lasers. Oh, set the, oh my gosh, set the lasers. There we go. So that is going to run through and set the lasers. So if we actually, fingers crossed, and hope for dear gosh that this is actually going to work first try. Well, first try on the video. There we go. So beautiful. We've coded all of this from sort of scratch because I did start the video, make something, and then explain how we can code it this way. So if you guys did like this version of presentation, then please let me know in the comments because I'm trying to figure out which one's easier for you to learn and follow along. Do you prefer me coding it like I've been coding it now, or do you prefer me just going through the code that I've already pre-written? Just if you can, just drop a comment. And like the last video, if this video manages to get to, let's say, 13 likes, unlucky for some, but maybe for this video we'll get 13 likes, and I will drop all of the code that we've created in here into the description or into the comments because the description's taken up. So yeah, I'll drop it all into the comments. So that's it for the video. Peace out.